Let's get to Ben Loyola. Ben, you got a big panel here. We're in Leesburg Live. You got a business owner with us, Jen Bro. You've got a supervisor in Loudoun County Republican, Caleb Kirshner. You got former chairman of the Republican Party, John Whitbeck. And you've got Colonel Mike from West Virginia. And so we've ambushed you, Ben, with all these people. Tell us about your race.
Hey, good morning, John. Thank you all. Thank you, panelists, Jen, Caleb, John, and the Colonel. Pleasure to be here today. The race is going great. I'm excited about the run for the 2nd Congressional District. I love this district. It's absolutely amazing. You covered it well, John, from the Eastern Shore all the way to Maryland border, all of Virginia Beach and Norfolk, and then all the way up to Williamsburg and York. It's an amazing district full of technology and military and farming and aquaculture, and obviously the Chesapeake Bay as well, all the way including the wonderful folks in Tangier Island. So it's I love the district, and I'm excited. We're doing all the right stuff. We've gone virtual during this challenging times, and we're reaching out the staff and the volunteers, and we're doing 2 virtual town halls, Facebook Live, folks calling in and posting questions, and we're answering with elected officials. It's kind of neat too. We've had a really great response on that. Two officials and community leaders per week, every week now. We're on number 10, so pretty excited about that.
Okay, Ben, the favorite in the race is Scott Taylor, so I'm going to start with that and go right to politics, and then we'll get to some issues. Taylor is the presumed favorite, been there before, has the name ID. You ran, I think, one time in 2010, got beat by Scott Ridgell. How do you beat Scott Taylor in this race?
Everything we're showing, I've been so humbled to be endorsed by over 40 elected officials, past and present. We announced early in November, and have been running a very professional and ethical campaign. Everything we're doing is right on track. We're looking forward to a great victory and taking the fight to Elaine Luria, a fellow Naval Academy graduate. But Scott lost because of the investigation that was going on, because of what had happened there in his campaign with the election fraud. And it's gotten a lot worse. So he's just unelectable right now, and nothing's changed. Actually, things have gotten a lot worse. And Elaine Luria and her staff, the Democrats, bashed him for that, and things have really gotten worse because of 2 indictments and 1 conviction. And then you had the prosecuting attorney say more indictments are likely. So it's really a bad situation. It's unfortunate too that he was running against Mark Warner across the Commonwealth of Virginia since last July, and then I guess flip-flopped over into our district here in the 2nd District and brought the cloud over to us. So, but we're doing all the right stuff. I'm focusing on the campaign. All the metrics are looking great. The support has been amazing, and the elected officials, the grassroots, and we're looking forward to winning this thing, winning it big.
So let's get to Ben. Let's get to some policy, and thank you for that. We're with Ben Loyola, running for Congress as a Republican 2nd District. He wants to be the nominee to take on Elaine Luria, who I've got as one of the most vulnerable Democrats in America in that district. Ben, Nancy Pelosi tomorrow is going to roll out a $3 trillion stimulus bill that changes the way we vote, that gives everybody $2,000 a month, extends the $600 unemployment through December, but she wants everybody to stay in lockdown. If you were in Congress right now, what would be your position on that bill?
Well, right now the Republicans, and obviously I believe so too, they passed a $2 trillion multi-phase, 3-phase plan with President Trump. They had bipartisan support of that, obviously, and I think that was the right move. It addressed small businesses, it addressed the payroll, it also addressed the testing and the hospitals and all the agencies that were really ramping up to try to map this virus out, which is leveraging amazing technology. That the fact that we were able to map this out, as well as do human trial testing with the vaccine. So I'm looking forward to really the ingenuity and the technology to knock this thing out. This vaccine has been a lot of effort, a lot of focus, a lot of money has been going behind it. So I believe that we should. We just did this. We just plussed up the additional PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, that was just plussed up. And then when you look at the details, you brought up some of the details, but a lot of the pork issues in the $3 trillion thing, there's a lot of pork stuff in there. The concern is the bailout for the states that have just literally bankrupt themselves. It's almost as if the red states are propping up and going to be having to pay for all the blue states that have destroyed their economy prior to the pandemic, and I just would not support that. our current Congresswoman, her first vote was for Nancy Pelosi, and she's been going right along with kind of the socialist agenda, and very concerning what's going on.
I'm going to get some of our panelists involved here. If you were in Congress now, Governor Northam continuing to shut down Northern Virginia. We're in Loudoun County today with business owners, pastors, elected officials. What would be your message to Ralph Northam if you were in Congress right now as it pertains to closing Northern Virginia, not in your district, but you're a member of the Virginia delegation? What would you say to him right now?
He needs to push down the responsibility. Trump did a massive move to push down the decisions to the governors. And because the diversity, obviously, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, even the 2nd Congressional District, the diversity here of population density and rural versus farming, aquaculture, push down that responsibility down to the city councils to make those decisions. And it's interesting, just now broke, the Wisconsin Supreme Court overturned the state's stay-home order, saying it was unlawful and unenforceable. And the governor just announced his Phase 1 rollout, which is this Friday, allowing certain things to open up and open up more to certain percentages and certain capacities. But it was interesting that already a state Supreme Court has ruled and overturned this very onerous thing, which is breaking the back of the economy. And people just want to get back to work and live their American dream and giving them their rights back. This is unheard of what's going on here. So I would support telling Ralph. I've called Governor Ralph Northam and say, stop this, push it down to people that can actually decide for their areas. Like out in the western part, I can't imagine this decision of a very farming area being under this onerous rules here. It makes no sense.
Well, Ben, that's where we are right now. We're in Leesburg, which is western Loudoun County. We've got a business owner with us. Also have a supervisor here from Loudoun County that I want to get involved. Caleb Kirshner, you're on the line with Ben Loyola, a Republican running for Congress, 2nd District. That'll be decided in a primary June 23rd. What would you say to Ben Loyola, Caleb, as a candidate for Congress?
Hold the ground, get your people to call. It's interesting that I for many years ran a grassroots network that, as a matter of fact, I was involved in the largest congressional blackout in history. I think we need to get our people involved. We need to get our people to call Ralph Northam. We need to get our people in Loudoun. We need to get it in your district. And obviously, you're running for Congress right now, but our congressmen who are on this side of the issue need to generate. Our conservative groups need to generate their folks. I'm just going to say for the record while we're on the air, if you're in Loudoun County, especially in western Loudoun, I'm sending a letter this morning, and it's a bipartisan letter of the western districts to Governor Northam. Call the governor's office, 804-786-2211. He needs to hear from the people of Virginia. He needs to hear from the people of the district. And I will tell you, when I lobbied Congress and I was involved in grassroots politics, if a congressional office got 10 calls, they said, that's pretty significant. If they got 15 or 20 calls, they were like, whoa, they sat up and took interest. If they get 100 or 1,000 calls, I will tell you they will reverse course. It is required that the people of the state and your district and every other district start calling their governors and start calling their elected officials.
Yeah, but we're not doing anything. I mean, that's why I'm on this tour, Transition to Action. Ben, nobody's doing anything. We're just standing around where the governor is dictating everything, closing businesses, closing Virginia Beach. Now, you're running in the 2nd District, Ben. You're going to be representing all of these business owners in Virginia Beach that are now going to be faced with bankruptcy because we can't open the beach. What is your message to them? What are you going to do about it?
I mean, I'm a small business owner myself, but folks have told me, friends have told me I have small business restaurants, stuff like, I'm done. I'm closed down. I can't even come back. The cost would be too much, the ramping back up and other type of businesses as well. So, I mean, the message has been clear. I've been putting, as a matter of fact, last night we had Senator John Cosgrove. Before that, we had Senator Bill Deestaff. We had Delegate Glenn Davis, and they're all on the same sheet. This has gone too far. And unfortunately, like in the Second Amendment, where folks were, really concerned about the takeover and the making their guns illegal and the confiscation program, the governor wanted to push down and got a lot of bills passed and signed, but not some of the most onerous ones. But people have woken up, and you saw the protests on the Second Amendment, and folks are protesting now. There's been demonstrations already across the country, and I see the light here with the Wisconsin Supreme Court overturning the stay-at-home also is unlawful and unenforceable. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that going across the United States. And I've called for it. I've publicized as best I can with my bullhorn as a candidate. That's about as far as I can go, and continue on encouraging folks to do the same. But our elected officials are calling for it as well. Our mayor here trying to open up Virginia Beach and the boardwalk and the beach. I mean, it's crazy. You can exercise, but if you lay down in the sand to get a little sunbathing, now you're breaking the law. I mean, it's nuts what's going on. It's unconstitutional.
The whole thing is insane. I want to get one of our business owners involved, Ben. She's not a constituent, but Jen Bro is with us. She owns a very successful Western Loudoun County business. She owns a vineyard here. She's been shut down. As running for Congress in the 2nd District, to Jen, I'm going to go to her. What do you want out of elected federal officials to do now, Jen?
Well, clearly, on a local level, our chair has fought against us. So I would ask anybody else who's for us to be our voice. We have not been asked what our voice is as small business owners here in Loudoun County. So we need you to be our voice for us. We can write our letters. We can do what we can on a smaller level. But what we need you to do is be our voice. Be our voice of reason. Fight for us. We need to open our doors. I believe it's 25% of small businesses stand to go by the wayside here in Loudoun County because of this shutdown.
That's a big number.
25%. I believe that came from the Department of Economic
25%
Development.
are going to go bankrupt. I can only imagine what that number is in Virginia Beach.
And if we continue, John, that number is going to get larger. I talked to our Economic Development Committee in Loudoun. They said as high as 50% if we go into June. So this is dire. I mean, can you imagine walking down the strip mall and every other store is closed, assuming they're small businesses, because we shut down our economy for 2 months? And we continue to shut it down.
Well, Ben Loyola, let's get to Virginia Beach. If we're looking at 25 to 35% of businesses going bankrupt in Loudoun County, what are you going to get at Virginia Beach? Like 75%? How can these companies survive there?
No, if they can't open up the boardwalk, all the hotels, the restaurants, and the domino effect, it's like a 10-to-1 impact, because obviously there's all sorts of other amenities and activities here in Virginia Beach during the summertime. I know the hotel and the hospitality community and the associations, the Chamber of Commerce, they are, I'll be short, freaking out. They are really, really concerned that this is a catastrophic event here. And it's sad. You look at the statistics here, the peak here, back in early April, and it's been declining, the daily cases, and the deaths have been declining steadily. But there's clear data, global data, that shows that life expectancy and freedom and economic freedom are tied together. And if you look at this onerous act on the untold impact of psychological, the concerns about abuse at home and all these other things that play in that are very hard to get actual metrics now, but have long-term standing effect, compared to what this pandemic is doing with the virus, you have to balance these things, and ultimately you have to go towards your constitutional rights, and that's why I'm amazed to see, and I'm excited to see a state Supreme Court overturn this in Wisconsin.
Well, Ben, this is Colonel Mike.
It's going to take that.
Hey, Ben, Colonel Mike, how are you?
Hey, Colonel, thank you for your service. How are you doing? Great.
Okay, great. Listen, I want to ask you a question. Are you going to be able to vote? Is anybody going to be able to go to the polls and vote for you? Or are they going to do mail-in?
Yeah, no, we've been calling out. I reached 38,000 calls so far, and the polls are open at their normal polling location. The governor pushed back. Good. Apparently, his executive orders allowed him to push it back a couple of weeks. So it was, the first Tuesday of June, and now it's June 23rd. And so, actually, I've been calling myself, and folks are just like, do you need an absentee ballot? Do you want us to send an application to you? It's like, nope, I'm voting in person. I don't believe in that stuff, and which is really the vast majority of folks are attending. The elderly, all the youth, they're showing up in person. which is refreshing.
Second, can you get some of the people down there in your district to go to Richmond, march on Richmond, and scream, open up the businesses? That's what I think. John spoke about that earlier in the show. Transition to action with the Senator LaRock. That you have to make your voice heard, similar to what happened with the Second Amendment earlier in the year.
You're absolutely right.
Can you get people to walk and go down there?
The challenge is like in the military. When you're under combat, you batten down the hatches and you go real slow. So folks are hunkering down, but enough's enough. I mean, they're breaking people's lifelong investments, generational investments in their businesses and their proprietorships across the United States, and obviously massive tolls. So folks are already protesting. I know there's already been protests. Militias have been on the record of going up to their state capitals and protesting what's going on, and now the courts are getting involved. So I really believe this is going to turn around quick, and the data is showing. It's like, look what Florida's done, that after the decline, this decay curve is showing clearly that this is declining, and they're opening up. So He's taken too long. I disagree with the fact that he is riding herd on the whole Commonwealth of Virginia locals. I believe in the decision and the intelligence of individuals to do the right thing. And ultimately, it's our constitutional rights. I think it's wrong how the path was taken.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, Ben Loyola, I've got one more question. China, if you're in Congress, are you in favor of legislation to hold China accountable for this releasing this virus into the Western world, including stripping them of their sovereign immunity and freezing the assets of their leaders that have money in the United States?
Yes, I definitely holding China accountable. I served, graduate from Naval Academy, aviator, fought in combat under a great commander-in-chief, and saw the militarization and the great expansion of China. And the scary part, all throughout, even when I was in college, they would request thesis papers, PhD papers. It's like a technological and trade patent vacuum cleaner to absorb everything they possibly can to steal the rights, steal the knowledge and the brilliance of individuals across the world. And this pandemic has brought to light now that they're literally held to hold the world hostage by keeping the raw materials and supplies for pharmaceuticals. That was practically a declaration of war. So President Trump is doing the right stuff. He's holding them, basically telling them no, fighting this tough fight on the economic side as well with trade. So I look forward to continue fighting that fight. I'm very concerned about China, the militarization, and what they've done, the cyber crimes they've been committing across the globe. I remember when I was commanding officer of Naval Forces South, how the Chinese run the Panama Canal. Jimmy Carter gave it up, and then the Panamanians sold out to China to operate the Panama Canal. So they're doing this across the globe. Natural resources, mines. It's very concerning. It's very concerning. We have to hold accountable. We have to take care of America first. Just like in defense, we have critical supply lines that we need to ensure our weapons platforms, whether it be raw materials or finished goods, and we need to identify that like we have in the pharmaceuticals. And sadly, a lot of that stuff comes from China. And this is a communist country. It's not about the individual. It's about the collective. Rights are second. And look what they did with the international press and doctors. They kicked them out. And then they showed their statistics that 83,000 cases have been steadily just flatline. And it's like that's statistically impossible. And it's really concerning. You just can't trust this communist regime. You can't. I mean, I was born in communist Cuba. And it's just really concerning, very concerning. I definitely will fight to hold them accountable. I support states going after them and suing them. And like you said, the sovereignty issue, that needs to go by the wayside. Absolutely.
People want to go to your website, Ben, to get more information. Where do they go?
Yes, just benloyola.com. Ben Loyola, Loyola, just like the University of the College or St. Ignatius Loyola. I appreciate the support. We're going to win this. I'm excited to continue to take the fight up to Washington, D.C., and I think we're going to win, get Nancy Pelosi out of there as well. Look what happened in California with my good friend and fellow naval aviator Garcia winning a Republican seat after 22 years. So that's great.
Ben, thanks for being with us. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network.